Hey folks, welcome back to the Pulse. This is the encore presentation for today, stream number 2. I feel like I don't know, I feel like I'm maybe catching something that others have in the community. And I think about like Somi. I think he's caught this thing where he has to stream like at least 5 times an hour. But folks, welcome back. We got the Captain RG3 today. What a treat. It's not always you can catch the captain. And to me, he represents something in our community that is unusual, right? It's something that nobody else has got, right? Think about what makes this community so unique. If it wasn't for RG, if it wasn't for the Discourse Syndicate, if it wasn't for Hexologist, if it wasn't for all those people at the beginning, right, who said, let's take it upon ourselves. Richard always says, well, there's no marketing department, there's no business or anything. But if you think about it, the hardest thing to do is to get people to care. And for a group of people to lead and understand that, and I'm going to ask RG about this because he's built teams before and he understands what it takes. And I think that, you don't realize how significant it is. It's one thing to have like the greatest performing asset or have the greatest code or have the greatest, tokenomics. But if you don't have people like RG, you don't have people that are literally saying, what, I'm going to stick this out. It's got to be like close to 5-6 years now or longer to be able to stick this stuff out and deal with all of the crap from a bunch of degens. My first introduction to the captain, he invited me on. I was a new streamer, and you should have seen the intro. I gave the intro last time we talked, and I'm going to tell you, it was a baptism by fire. And folks, I'm just so thankful that there are guys who don't give up, right? Richard Hart being number one, but two, this guy right here, the captain. Aye, Captain. How are you, man?
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, dude. I'm just
Permission to board.
yes, come aboard, my captain. To me, it's unusual. They talk about the community as a whole, but I mean, honestly, and about this, is there something that you've kind of gathered from your experience that made this a natural thing for you to say, hey, I know that if I'm going to make this something, I'm going to have to lead. There's obviously a group at the beginning. What do you think? I mean, it doesn't always catch on, right? And this one just happened to catch on, but you've stuck with the narrative, this whole pirate thing, which I absolutely love. What do you attribute that to?
So, I mean, and first of all, thanks for the badass intro. I appreciate it. And you saying that just makes it all worth it. I mean, it's a thankless job. At
Yes.
times, I think that people don't understand, what it takes to contribute like this to something that I don't have to contribute to it.
Right.
I don't have to be here. I don't have to be in the middle of the fights. I don't have to be answering all the time everybody's accusations and all this and protecting people and doing all that. I don't have to do it, but I want to. And there's a reason for wanting to, and there's a reason for sticking it out. I've had from the time I was a young boy all the way until, my adult years, I've had a tough upbringing. I've had a rough life. It wasn't easy when I was younger. We were poor. We lived in the ghetto. I grew up in gang infested, drug infested neighborhoods. So I learned how to survive. I became a Marine. I went through all that, then got out and ended up on the streets, homeless and everything else. And then pulled myself through that and became, a productive member of society, a guy that came from lived under the bridge at one point.
Wow.
And, and then to have pulled myself out of it and it wasn't me. It was people that believed in me, that surrounded me, that helped me. They didn't give me a hand out. They gave me a hand up. They helped me get up off the ground and said, okay, now dust yourself off, pick yourself up and go. All that stuff didn't define who you are. It made you strong enough to be who you're going to become. So now go become that. And just a lot of mentors and people in my life that have helped me to change who I am. Now, all kinds of other little things fell into place to bring me here today. From the leadership skills I developed in the streets and in the Marine Corps, to my network marketing days, to all the days that I've spent over the last, close to almost 20 years in the tech field, just kind of learning and building businesses and companies around it. from gaming to crypto to all this stuff, put me in this very unique spot at this unique point in time. And I just went over a book that I read a long time ago. I think it's by Jack Canfield. It's called Outliers. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Malcolm
just went
Gladwell.
over Malcolm Gladwell. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, Malcolm
Yeah.
Gladwell. Outliers. And I read that book again just recently, and I started to realize that I was an outlier. You
Yep.
know, I was groomed and put into a position and a place and time to be able to do what I've done today, to be able to help form part of this community. I'll never take credit for doing it all. I'll never take credit for, being the only guy or whatever. But I was part of it, and it was a necessary part of it. My little piece is important. And that's why I continue to do what I'm doing, and why I'm not going to give up, and why no matter what these people throw at me, no matter how, bad the memeing is, or the ridicule or the accusations or whatever, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, because I know that it's becoming successful, because I have more people telling me, thank you, RG, or sending me DMs saying you changed my life, or, those kinds of things you can't change. You can't change what I'm doing with your FUD when I hear things like that from people. So I'm going to keep going and keep doing what I'm doing. But yeah, it was all those things. And if for people who don't know what that book Outliers is about, it's really about, are there really, really super special people, or were there good people that were put in situations and incidents and trained themselves and put hours in and did all these things that culminated to their success.
Yeah.
And that's what they prove, is that it wasn't just some person just did this miraculous thing. It was all the different circumstances in life that brought them to that point that made them great. And they created a great contribution, all the way from, Bill Gates and all those folks to, hockey players and how they're selected, and book goes on and on about all this stuff. And so, yeah, we've got a bunch of outliers here, people that have come into this community at the right point in time. And here we are. I think that the strength that we have together, all of our unique attributes, all of our unique skills and talents are all coming together at this point for a reason. And I can't wait to see what the outcome is going to be over the next few years.
Wow. That book was significant to me. There's so many stories in that book of people who had what most people would think to be a disability or a drawback that was going to be fatal. And they actually turned that, or overcame that obstacle. And it's part of what made them that outlier, right? It's not only timing, it's also this effort and 10,000 hours. But then I think what's so cool is, you're right, it's that, we come at the right time. The question I've got for you, though, is, did you see something in Richard Hart in those early days that you could relate to? Because he seems to be almost has a similar experience to you in a strange way.
Yeah. And that was it. It was those things. Like, I picked up on things right off the bat from him. So, like, when you look at his Top Hat videos and what he's saying, and if you really understood, like, people from the streets, people who grew up in, with lack, but who are now entrepreneurs, are doing different, or trying to make things right. That's what I saw in him. I was like, okay, wait a second. This guy has a similar kind of background. Like, I could tell he's not only is he street smart, but he's self-made. He doesn't come from, I can tell he doesn't come from money or education, but he's a really smart guy, and he's used it to become an entrepreneur. Like, you could just tell those types. Like, there's a different type of person. And I just kind of sensed that from him. And I was like, okay. And so I gravitated towards him. And the more and more I heard, the more and more I was like, yeah, this guy's down. He's the real deal. And he's the kind of guy that can change the world. Now, if I can get involved, I know with my skill set and what I've done and who I am, I can help him do that. And the more people he gets around him like that, wow, this guy's talking about putting technologies out that can change the world. Man, I want on that team. That team.
Well, and I think about those days of, team building. One of the things that you and I've had some similar experiences as well in the team building side, but I think there's this almost aha moment where you realize the only way I'm going to win is to help other people win.
Yes.
And, that is something that's so quintessential with building volunteer type of teams. And you did that successfully. And then you see Richard as kind of the advocate too. it's you say this because I was listening to one of your last streams, and I know that there's all kinds of stuff in the community that's challenging and everything, but I admire your intestinal fortitude, right? You're just willing to go the distance, and I almost feel like, in spite of things, it's a sign of maturity in a way. Because what attracted me is, you and I are very similar ages. It's not, I didn't see a lot of guys out there, but I noticed that there's got to be an advocate for the underdog, and that to me, that's the pirate meme. The pirate meme is almost an outcast who overcomes, not the whole theft and debauchery, but the idea that you can go your own way and you can find a treasure, I guess, is kind of that story to me that represents the underdog.
Yeah, yeah, and even the so yeah, let's talk about team building and what we've got going on here, because and the pirate meme. It the pirate meme for me started with my father. My father was a just he just loved that, and he embodied that. That's the kind of person he was, and but he was the good pirate.
Mm.
He wanted to he wanted to go out and take from those that were taking from the world and bring it to the regular folks. That was the kind of guy my dad was, and I kind of took that persona on this whole thing because I lost him right when Hex started and we were
Mm.
starting the stream. So that kind of like fit right in and everything. And then as I looked at the community and I looked at what we had here and I looked at the team itself, and it all like kind of fit into place like the captain of a ship
Yeah.
and pirates. And sometimes you get, you know, just excellent hands that you can make your XO and your second in charge and your captain of the guard and all that kind of stuff. And then you've got some of the dregs. You've got some of those pirates that
The
you
toothless
just
guys.
you drug them out of the bar and they're there and they just want to go and murder and steal and all of that stuff, and they're necessary, but they need to be kept in check, and they need to be grown and developed into this team that's out there. There's all kinds of stuff that we've got to navigate, and there's look, when we get into crypto, first of all of our friends and family are looking at us like we're crazy.
Yep.
And you and I know this story, right? So we get looked at like we're crazy for wanting to even be part of this thing because nobody understands it and everybody's afraid of it. So the fear creates this anger towards us and all this stuff that we get from our people around us that surround us, loved ones, family, friends, bosses, all that stuff. Then we come to crypto as Hexicans and we find it and we're like, wow, this thing is wonderful. We got to tell the world about it. So we get all excited and we want to go out there individually. First, we get shunned by all of our friends and family, and then crypto turns their back on us. And not only they turn their back on us, but they turn their cannons at us.
Yeah.
And they start to fire salvos, and we start taking it. And at that point, we had early in the stage, we had a need to team up and go against everybody, and we did, and we came out of it victorious. The Hexicans, we won, and only because our captain, Richard Hart, and our ship, Hex, was unstoppable.
Yeah.
It was infallible. No matter how much they sent at us, we won because Hex has not failed us. Richard has not failed us. So we've survived because of what we had behind us. Now, as a team and what we have to do, I think that what got us where we're at today is not going to get us to where we need to go. We need to come together more. There is a bigger battle looming.
Yes.
It's the crypto space has given up. They know. I've had backroom talks with some very, very big people in crypto recently that have praised us and said, you guys won. You guys are the strongest community that we've ever seen. We've never seen anything like it. And you guys took it, and they see what I'm talking about. They've seen it.
Yeah.
They watched
Yeah.
it. The whole crypto space saw it. We
Yeah.
are famous for who we are and what we've done. The tenacity of this community. They should,
Well, you've got to
all you
be so.
Hexicans should be proud.
Yeah,
what
and
you've
you should be really proud. I mean, some of this you'd say is by accident, and other thing you should say, well, it's destiny. And what's so cool about this? I mean, here you've got this military background as well. there's like a galvanizing force when you're with a group of guys and you go through really difficult stuff, right? And
Mm.
I just imagine, I don't know anything about outside of what I see in films and such, but the idea of a Marine is really, to me, the elite. And when you think about, I mean, probably the greatest friends of your life, you literally, arm in arm, shoulder to shoulder with, going through hell. And in a way, it's like a picture of that, especially those early days of Hex. I watched that and I'm like, who doesn't get discouraged by that stuff? And that to me is like the galvanizing effect, because I almost feel like if it wasn't for all of those arrows that were shot at Richard and you guys, it wouldn't have actually created the resolve to continue. Do you think that that's true?
100%, my brother. 100%. Because that same feel. See, I experienced that as a young man. I have men in my life that will always be as close to me as any blood brother I have, because of what we went through the Marine Corps and all that. And that I understand that feeling. I understand what that means. I understand what going through the gauntlet with people means when you come out the other side. So I don't understand. I don't know how to separate that. So
Yeah,
that's how I feel about this community, was that we went through the gauntlet and these people are my brothers, and these people, I am that tight with them in
yeah,
life because I don't have that anymore. That whole thing is I'm separated from, and even like I said, in gangland, it's the same type of thing happens there
yeah,
too. And that's why gangs are so popular and so easy to draw people in, because youth that don't have father figures and all that kind of stuff, they can get sucked right into that, and they feel this brotherhood with that. So I've always kind of been attached to that along the way, and I feel the same thing here,
yeah,
and
yeah,
and that's why I don't dislike any of the people that I've gone through this with. And I just think maybe they are inaccurate. They lost their way a little bit and then they'll be back, or,
yeah,
all this kind
yeah,
of stuff. And I don't hold anything against any of them because I know we need them.
yeah,
We're going to need them, especially in this battle that's coming. And it's
yeah.
not just crypto that's coming after us. It's going to be the whole world.
Y-
SEC just announced today that they're aiming salvos at us right now. They're getting
mm,
ready to aim, and DeFi is in the crosshairs, and that's the battles that we're going to have to face.
yeah,
So yeah, we better realize who we all are. And that's the thing I have a hard time with too, is because some of these guys don't understand how I feel about them and this community,
yeah,
and what we've done and what we have to do. So they may take me wrong, but it's about you know tough love, getting ready for the fights that are about to happen.
yeah,
It's going to get harder for us. It really is. And if we're not loud, if we're not strong, if we're not unified, we're not going to win.
yeah, yeah. Well, and we've seen things happen that we thought were fatal wounds over the years, and they
Yeah.
haven't been. And I think that that's something that would discourage other communities, have not discouraged us. And what I think is incredible about this community and your leadership and in those things is that there's this thread of redemption, right? You talked about the guys that are, I think about the toothless pirate, right? And it's like in the gangs and the Marines and all that stuff, it's like there's a lot of people out there that I feel like until they got to crypto and then met people in this community thought, hey, is there anyone that actually believes in me? Is there anyone that do I get a second chance? Because there's a lot of people that I feel like this is kind of redemption for them. I look at that
Mm,
even with Richard. There's a whole redemption story in the glory, if you will. Like he
mhm.
wants to make this wrong thing right. I feel like, we've seen when things are pumping. I saw Hex at 52 cents, man. The high fiving was amazing. And so it's almost like, well, we understand, you will come back home. And, that's the cool thing of having mature leaders like you. And I just appreciate it because, I came late to the party. It was what, 2 days before big payday. I see something on television, honestly, on late night TV. And I'm like, is
Heard
this
that
some
story.
network marketing thing? And so to be a part of this, but I just appreciate you. I appreciate all those um, who put in the work. I mean, Hexo was one of the ones I would watch like daily, and if it
Yeah.
wasn't for him, if it wasn't for his style, and actually, let's do this in honor of Hexo. I'm going to do this right now. Um, what I really appreciated about him is the way he interacted with the chat. And some people give me a hard time for that, but he went through everything and saw everybody and said, "Hey, I see you." And I always appreciated that. And I just want to do this for a second because everybody's excited about you being here. I'm going to run through this. We got Taryn and Tex Hex and Magnus and Godfather J6. We got Drix and Yup K. Hookers and Cocaine, one of my favorites. Magnus, GP, Susie Q, of course. Extravagant Taste is back. Hex Force 1. Ryan by Ryan. Paul Op the 7th. Hexander, Nicholas, and of course, a wild SJ. Dude, she is amazing, by the way. Amazing.
Absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't. So as things have gotten busier and busier with the Pulse Chain tour and everything that we're doing, I'm just a one-man show. Every once in a while I had some people helping on the side here and there. I'd pay somebody to do this and they'd disappear and they'd go do something else, an NFT project or something. I couldn't get them to help me. And then I couldn't get it. And then I'd have to try and run in here and get my stream set up. But SJ has been 100% solid. She has been completely on top of things. And my schedule, like I don't have to worry about my calendar. SJ and my wife, they coordinate my calendar. So I know exactly what's going on in my home life and in my work life. And it's been amazing having her. My hat is off to my second mate there. She is just tearing it up. And of course, awesome. Black Hexagon too. She's got the tour dialed in. So if it wasn't for those two ladies, my first mates, I would not be able to do what I'm doing for damn sure.
Well, I think what's incredible is you're going through, like you're going to every single one of these stops. This is a lot of commitment. There's a lot of expense as well. I don't think people realize that you're actually doing that. Like every one of these events, you're at it and you're on your own dime. I think that's incredible.
Yeah, so we charge a modest fee to come to the events, and it's usually just enough to take care of SJ and Black Hexican's expenses, pay for the room, pay for the things that we have to do to fly out there and all that stuff. And then it ends up I pay for myself to go fly around the world and speak. But I don't look at it as a charge. I look at it as a learning experience, as community development, as pumping our bags, and you and I both know that, by helping others and helping others to understand this system and for them to become wealthy or financially independent, we have to help them. And by them being helped and them helping others, teaching them to be the teachers, then we all become, wealthier because of it, because we're bringing attention to the system. We're bringing people to real DeFi and, we're all growing from there. And I know that's what it takes. And if somebody doesn't do it, then it just kind of will fizzle away and die, because the community is that important to crypto. There is no traditional marketing. We have to go out there word of mouth and mano a mano, talk to people, help them onboard, all that stuff.
Well, and it's funny is everybody wants to talk about success and very few people want to, put on the overalls and do it. And I'm reminded though, we did a lot of campaigns, right? Fundraising campaigns for buildings, for, all kinds of projects. And the number one thing we always said was leadership is the most important component. Is if you don't have leaders who are willing to put in the effort. And it's interesting, we would call them the chairman of the campaign. And what's interesting is you fit that role exactly. If I knew we were going to be successful, if there was a chairman like you who would be willing, a captain, if you will, who would literally go around and have those peer-to-peer conversations with these key people and do the travel and all that. But if you didn't have somebody who would do that, it would fall apart. And you could predict it by the speed of that leader.
Yep. I think that, no, and appreciate you recognizing that, cause I do it, thanklessly and knowing what I'm doing and trying to just look, I'm not going to be the guy that does it all. And I'm not going to be around here forever. There's going to be more people. There's going to be better people than I doing this eventually. That's what I've always said is there's going to be better streamers. There's going to be better speakers. There's going to be better advocates. There's going to be much better people doing this than me. But I have to be the example to draw those folks in, and because nobody has really done it yet. So let's go out there and create that and make it consistent and persistent. That way we can get others to follow on and carry on the torch and do it. Because once we have, an army of leaders, then that's when we start to take on this
Yeah.
virality,
Yeah.
and we're just
It,
not there yet. We're still
it's
chugging.
coming.
We're still at the early
Yeah.
stage. It's coming. It's
Yeah,
coming.
it's coming. It is totally coming. Hexed's here. Susie Q, thanks so much for being here. Drix, J Pond, Crypto King, what's up from
Hey,
Brit-
the
yeah,
producer.
he's fantastic. Hex on Time, what's up? You know what's crazy though? I will say this is kind of a leading indicator. The people that were there in the early days are coming back, man. Like I'm seeing it in the numbers. I'm seeing it in the people and the faces that are coming back. Tin Top Frosty Dog, what's going on,
Hey,
man? It's
what's
good
up,
to see you.
Frosty?
Crypto Bigfoot's here. John Jay in the UK. Samurai Dan, what's up, Samurai Dan? I got a chance to meet him actually at that event that you hosted in Austin. Samurai.coffee, man. He's got a coffee business. He has a
Yep,
great
yep.
hexagon. Quinn, thanks for being here. Dorsey, Tin Top. Let's see who. I just want to Roof Dog. What's going on? Ramon Carrillo. I'll talk to you in a minute. Kay Hudson, Crypto Bald Guy, Ivan, E. Anderson. Let's see who else is here. TJ Hex. Like all these folks. It's just amazing who's here. So there's obviously a number of events are coming up. I'm really excited about Vegas. I always look forward to a Vegas opportunity,
Yeah,
but I know
Vegas.
that there's a big thing coming up here in Houston. You want to kind of chat about that? Because I know that's a mix of kind of real estate and crypto.
Yeah. So we've got on the let's see here. On Saturday, February 17th, is going to be the Houston, Texas event. That's where real estate is going to meet crypto. So we're going to have some real estate speakers, crypto speakers, and both of them are, and all of them are pretty much crossovers. It's not going to be just a real estate deal itself. So we're going to feature speakers from both. And it's going to include David, I think is Moondog
Yeah,
Ladure. Corey
Ladura, yeah.
Geary is going to be speaking there. There's another real estate investor by the name of Brant Phillips. We'll be teaching him about Hex after, or we'll be teaching Hex after he teaches about real estate. And then something else going on out there is SJ and Quinn have teamed up to collaborate on an NFT to promote Texan token. So
No
we're going to
way.
be out there talking about that. Yeah. They're going to be
That's
doing that, and
awesome.
they're going to be doing a free mint Friday with it on the Tengang. So
Oh,
yeah.
nice.
So
Well, that's fantastic. Well, Danny the singer is going to be
yes.
speaking, and actually he's going to share about Texan Token, and just he's been such a great supporter of Hex and Pulse and Texan and all that kind of stuff. And it's always good to have you back in Texas, RG. I know that
Yeah, I like
you got lots of family here, so it's good
yes,
to
I
always
do.
have you back.
And and my Hexagon family there too. And then
Yeah.
and Danny and his wife just came out here and visited in California and went and stayed up in the mountains and hung out with us. So that was cool having him out here. And yeah, I can't wait to hear him speak. So yeah, that's what's going on in Texas. So we'll be doing that in Houston here in the next couple weeks. And yeah, it's going to be a big fun time. Bunch of
Good.
Hexagon
So
getting
Pulse
together.
Chain, so pulsechaintour.com. So folks,
Yep.
make sure if you're in this Houston area, you can drive in. This is going to be a great event. Encourage you to go to Pulse Chain Tour. It is linked in the description as well to get your tickets to come to that event. But this is going to be a good group of folks. I know, speakers, and I think it's a really cool opportunity to get some people, because in my humble opinion, I don't know that real estate, especially on the commercial side, is up and to the right here in the next several years. I think that there's going to be a challenge to it, and
Yes.
so I think that having alternatives for those folks, I think they're going to be pretty receptive, because I think the writing's on the wall for some of the, especially on the commercial real estate side. So
Oh yeah, with all this AI stuff, Amazon, all these things taking over, there's going to be, commercial real estate is going to really take a hit. Really take a hit. I mean, COVID already damn near obliterated,
yeah.
mom and pop shops and whatnot. So,
Well, who goes
commercial
into
real
an
estate,
office anymore, right?
yeah.
I mean,
I
unless
mean,
you're required to, I suppose.
my studio's out of my home,
Yeah.
and I'm not looking for anything other than, maybe a man cave somewhere with some Ferraris and stuff in it. That'll be my, about as far as I get, close as I get to commercial real estate. But, not planning on opening any brick and mortars anytime soon. And I don't know anybody else who's talking about it.
Dude, well, so speaking of that, I'm just really curious about that event. I saw all these photos. I saw neon lights. I saw this,
Oh,
bar area, big, exotic rentals, and then I see all this branded stuff for Hex and Pulse and everything. Like, what's going on there? That's somebody that is all in and has a business. I think it's cool to kind of merge, the crypto and then the, exotic rental of cars. What's
so
that? What was that all about?
so Dono, he is an entrepreneur out here in Southern California. He does interior design and construction for the high end homes out here in Orange County on the beaches and stuff. So his stuff is just he's a top notch high end construction type. And he has an office and he has a warehouse, and his warehouse was mostly empty all the time. And he's like, I'm gonna do something with this. So he's a Hexican, and he's done well. And so he said, well, I'm going to make this my man cave. So he turned into a man cave with hex neon all over the place. And he said, I'm going to start up another company, a side company called Exotic Rentals. And I'm going to rent out Lamborghinis and Ferraris and Porsches and all that kind of stuff. And his man cave has a sauna. It has a game room. It has a tattoo parlor. It has a movie room. I mean, it's just a dance floor, showroom for the cars, all that stuff. And it's like the ultimate man cave. And it's a Hexican ultimate man cave. And so he allowed us to come over and have the kickoff party there at his place. And so when we went to the VIP dinner, he goes, here you go, everybody, jump in a car. And there was just a line of Ferraris, Lamborghini. Oh yeah.
No,
I drove the bathtub convertible 1959 Porsche. And
Whoa.
everybody else was in Lambos and we all went it was just down the street a couple blocks away, and we all went and parked it in front of this restaurant, and we had Italian food that they specially made for us. And then we all drove the cars back and parked them all, and then had a big party with a DJ and an open bar and the whole thing. It was just a great time, man. We had a really good time, and SJ had the bus parked out there. So it was just a big Mexican party / meetup. But we had a great presentation before that. We had a full room. We had a lot of new onboards there. The bull market's kicking off. See, because last year the presentations were, we'd have 30, 40 people, it was kind of slim pickings, a lot of just Hexicans, maybe a new person or two. But now we had a room full of Hexicans. We had a percentage of newcomers, people that were just onboarding, no coiners. So it was cool to see, and it was great to feel. And we've been reeling ever since, because now Vegas is like blown out, almost sold out. So if you don't have tickets for Vegas, guys, all the events are selling out right now. I think all but maybe a couple, like 2 or 3 VIP tickets are gone, and we can't add VIP tickets, guys, because we've set up rooms and dinners and all of these events to fit a certain amount of people based on what we thought the requirement was going to be. And you guys are blowing that out. So we can't grow it any bigger. So the tickets that are there are the tickets that are there. So if you're friends of mine, especially, don't come, RG, come on, get me a ticket.
Yeah.
I can't do that. The Black Hexican will kill me. Like I've done that a few times. Like, hey, I'll pay for his VIP. I'll pay for it. We don't have room. What are you doing? What are you thinking? I'm like, I'm the captain. Can I do that? No.
Come on.
So I've been shackled, and I've walked the plank, and nobody wants Black Hexican walking you off the end of the plank. And she's told me I can no longer do that. So sorry, guys, you got to go get your tickets. And we're selling out. So we're reeling from that, because now all of a sudden the events are selling out. The events are getting excitement. We're seeing a lot of new no coiners show up. I think bull market's in full effect, man.
Yeah.
I think we're here.
No, I couldn't agree more. I did a stream earlier, and I want to ask you about that. So I'm going to give you my theory. Okay, you're either going to like completely put me in my place, or maybe give me some other insight. But let me throw this at you, because this is what excites me the most. I saw what happened with X, right? I saw what happened, and the term I use is the number of times Richard said the floor is lava. And that to me was this indicator that, hey, everybody else is down, but we're up. And I remember taking screenshots on my phones of like 38% up in a day, right? And it was just like to the moon. And now that I understand what I think happened, is I look at Richard and I look at the interesting dynamic of a sacrifice that's not needed for investment, right? It's just sitting there. And I see, the layer one, I see, all of these projects and all these people and all of this, resource. And I see a guy waiting on the timing. And one of the things that I can tell is a guy that knows the tops and the bottoms. And here we are coming up on the halvening, right? We're coming up into April. I think April 19th is kind of the predicted date of the halvening. And I think there's a lot of people who don't know or haven't seen kind of what happened in what I perceive in the background of what made Hex really, really outstanding. But those same principles are in place, not only the tokenomics, but also Richard understands the dynamics of what attracts the people, right? And it's green candles in it's really green candles in spite of everyone else. And it's almost like making it the outlier, right? You notice it because it's so much sticking out. And we saw kind of a test run of this with this last pump, right? We saw some money move over the bridge. We saw the test pump. We went to the moon. Well, we had a nice little pump and everybody else was down. Do I have it right? A guy that doesn't need any money, who said on one of those streams, he's like, heck, guys, you're worried about all these unimaginable or imaginable horribles, but you don't ever consider a guy who might have a million ETH, who might buy and buy and buy and buy. And I feel like the community understands that there's this moment that is go time. Do I have it? Am I reading the tea leaves right?
So you're 100, and let me explain something to everybody here. And this is the most important thing to understand right now.
Alpha warning, alpha warning.
Where we are at this moment in time. I've already seen the pumps and dumps in Hex from the beginning until today. I know what comes. I know the indicators. We saw the moves and how they moved and where they went. Like you said, the 38% a day pumps and all that kind of stuff. You and I both know that stock buybacks are a thing.
Yep.
It's real. It exists in the real world. Stock buybacks are a thing. In fact, just recently over the last 4 or 5 years, I think it was, maybe a little long, maybe 6 years, companies were given tax incentives, and they used that tax incentive to buy back their own stocks at a time when their stocks were down, which pumped the stock market back up again. Nothing wrong with that. It's legal. Jeff Bezos can buy his own stock. Elon Musk can buy his own stock. Why would an owner or a founder of something not want more of their own thing and make it more valuable?
Right.
And not dump it? It happens often. It happens plenty of times. Look at Berkshire Hathaway.
Yeah.
Did Charlie Munger before his death and Warren Buffett sell their portions of it? No, they didn't. They held more and more and more of it. They built it bigger and bigger and bigger, and they lived off of other things.
Yep.
And they continued to grow their legacy by doing these things and buying back. It's part of the game, people.
Yep.
So to think that there's anything wrong or that it's not going to happen, that Richard is going to come in and buy the thing that he likes the most.
Yeah.
You would be completely mistaken. It's going to eventually happen sometime, somewhere. And there's nothing wrong with him doing that. No. So for anybody out there in crypto saying, oh, that's Richard Hart buying his own token. Duh. Why wouldn't he?
Well, what people don't realize is there's a siphoning effect that happens, and it's like anything,
Exactly.
If you grew up when the captain and I were kids, you remember the 1970s when there was a shortage of gas, and my dad literally would suck on the hose and siphon gas out of the car to put it in the other car. And I'm like,
because there were days we couldn't buy it. Like you had to go by your license plate number, or what day you can go wait in that line. And the line was like I'd be in the line with dad just sitting there, all night waiting for the gas. I mean, that was a real thing. The gas lines were a real thing.
It was. And it was like creating that suction to start, like prime the pump. And I think about, what's going on. Think about this, guys. And this is what excites me more than anything.
And that was
We
40
now
years ago,
have,
by the way.
I know.
A
Here
whole
we
long one.
are. Here we are with all these people coming in because they've got tokens on the Pulse chain, but we have all these builders. We got all these people that are pairing themselves with Pulse. And I made a point that if you have $50,000 worth of liquidity that's bonded with PLS and it goes up 100x, you got 5 million in liquidity. And what people don't realize is Hart's Law is real. And it doesn't just take Richard. That's just priming the pump because it's going to suck in all of crypto. It's a siphoning effect. And if you've got better fees, but then also you have this commitment to the principles of freedom of speech, movement, privacy, all of that stuff. I think we win the day, not just because of community, not just because of tokenomics, not just because of economic power, but we have it because of the principles, because that's what's going to resonate is that authenticity. That's my opinion. And I think it is just waiting to happen. And it should be such an encouragement to people who have lasted through this bear market.
It should be, because so the Venturi effect that you're talking about, it exists in crypto every 4 years. So every time, like you just were talking about the happening. So what people don't understand what happens is, and this has happened every single time. We can pull up the charts right now and show every single happening, and the charts are identical. Identical. And our chart right now is in that final stage before the pump. That's literally where we are. If you look take all 4 of the happenings and line them up together, and you will see what's about to happen. And this one is about to happen stronger than ever before. Now, here's what happens, folks, and you need to be aware of this. This is what will make you the winner of the crypto game. First of all, being involved in the Richard Hart ecosystem. Hex, Pulse, PulseX. Period. End of story. I can say that I will tell people that Hex is the way that you will become a wealthy crypto investor. You will own more crypto by getting into Hex, and you will be much happier for doing so now than later.
Yep.
So what happens is as the pump starts to go, they start manipulating the system. Why? Because they can, because it's predictable, because it's programmed into the code. See, these things aren't programmed into the stock market. The stock market is manipulated by the 1%. The 1%, they all get together and they say, now is the time to do this.
Yep.
Have at it, boys. And they do that to the stock market. And what happens is when they do run that stock market, there's signals and signs. So the whales make the splash, and the plankton and the sharks and the everything go running to it. And it creates this Venturi effect. It creates this sucking effect to where all the plebs are sucked in with it. And the plankton flims around, and the whales grab it, and the birds come in, and the fish start eating, and the sharks are eating the fish, and boom, 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 it's a feeding frenzy. And that's why the whales, the sharks, the dolphins, all this stuff is really a representative of what happens here, because it is what happens. Now, as all of this energy gets siphoned in, the whales know when it's time to walk away, because they've made their catch, because everybody comes in and it brings more and more and more money in. And guess what they get to do? They get to take their big whale money and move it back where they want it. And when they leave, the Venturi effects reverses.
Yep.
And all of the energy sucks out of it and disappears, because everyone's afraid and runs away and is tired of being eaten. And the whales win both sides. They win on the way up, and they went on the way down, because they don't buy the peaks, and they come and buy back in when they've already sucked all the value out. And they're going to make 10 or 15% off the top, and they're going to make 10 or 15% off the bottom, off of all of you.
Yeah.
Unless you become a dolphin or a shark or a whale and you understand what's going on, or you play with them and you watch the game and you play the game and you're part of it. That's how you become successful in crypto, is not getting sucked into the Venturi and getting hosed at the top or the bottom.
Wow. Well, it's like Richard Hart is throwing chum in the water, folks. He is starting the feeding frenzy. Hex Kong, thanks for the $4.99. What's unique is that it happens without expectations of it. What's up, bros? Dude, it's so true. And that's what I love about this is, it used to be, you make this point that, the stock market, all of these things of the people, the 1% that's been able to control it. this is such a unique thing in like financial history because regular guys have an opportunity to be on the even footing with these guys, and in a way we get to participate at the beginning versus having to have the leftovers. And so yeah, it's incredible, and this is really power back to the people. And to me it is it's indication of something so much more important. And to me, with what's going on in the world, and this is kind of where I'd love to wrap things up with you, is I want to talk to you about, this crisis that we find ourselves in the world, right? We've got
Mhm.
some really big battles going on,
Yeah.
geopolitically. We've got an election year coming up. We've got interesting things as it relates to whether we turn the money printers on or not. We've got the BRICS nations expanding like crazy. 30 to 40% of GDP is now going to be in the BRICS nations. We've got, the dollar dominance is certainly waning. It's not like it's going to fail overnight, but, and of course, all this debt. This to me, if people aren't sharing this, I was hustling Hex at 42 cents. And I think about Hex sub 2 cents, combined, and I think there's never been a better time to tell people that you care about, just to be a part of something that could be transformational for them. Because I almost feel like, you gotten gun shy, through the bear market, and you're like, yeah, I share this. It's like, if you're ever going to do somebody a favor, I think now's the time. Would you agree?
I do. This is so again, the pirate theme, right? So what happened in pirating was they were hired by the governments to go out and do the dirty work for the governments while they were all at war with one another. And then the pirates realized that they were being hosed by those governments. So they said, you know what? We're going to take it for ourselves and forget them. And so they came after them. They said, no, we're going to come after you. And they started fighting them and taking more of what they had because it turned into a war with the pirateers and the people that hired them. And they turned into real pirates,
Yep.
taking back from the governments that were kind of hosing them anyway. So that's what I kind of see going on here now, geopolitically and everything. In my opinion, there's nothing new under the sun. Human beings and human nature has been just as bad as it's ever been throughout history. There's nothing worse about today than there has been. It's just more open. We
Mm,
see more of it. We see more of the destruction. There's always been destruction and horrible people doing horrible things to folks for forever, for power, greed, whatever. And now that it's easy to focus on, we're in this kind of middle phase. I think we're at the verge of a renaissance. We're
mm,
about to go from one age to another. Like, we've seen, if I always like looking at cycles. If you take a step back and you look at the world and you look at the cycles, you look at the dark ages and how things happened and how things changed and things went from bad to good when people just had enough of the bad for so many decades and eons, and they went to so good that everything was just a renaissance. And the spring and all this. I think we're at that stage right now. Financially, geopolitically, I think that people are tired of wars and
yeah.
killing, and I think people are tired of being forced into submission and being forced to not have rights, and having governments tell them what's better for them. And we don't have any tools as people to take our power back. We've lost it. We've given it up. And the 1% have figured out a way to manipulate our governments, our laws, and our rules and our money to control all of us. And I think the people have had enough.
Yeah.
And I think that now there are tools that are coming out for us to actually do that. Like you guys with what you guys are doing with the Texan token. I can't say that I'm 100% in agreement with the whole Texan token movement, but I can say that what you guys are doing is groundbreaking. What you guys are doing is necessary. What you guys are doing is going to change things. So I definitely look at that and appreciate that.
Yeah.
But that's the things that need to happen. We need these little revolutions, these non-violent things to change the world. With the crazies,
Yeah.
are the ones that change the world. The
Yep.
misfits, the pirates, we're
Yep.
the ones that are going to make the change. And we have to realize that we have that power. And with crypto, and with this financial tool that we have, if we get to keep it, we can make some serious change, and we can make some serious dents in the armor of what's going on out there, and really take it to them and take our money back and our power back. So
Yeah.
I'm hopeful for that. I'm glad to be, part of the movement and at the forefront of it and all that. Yeah, I'm excited.
Well, I often think about Richard. He's so poignant in what he says, in the examples he gives. It's it's a meme, right? It's a story. We're telling ourselves stories. We have, an experience that tells a story. And I look at all of these projects on the Pulse chain, and what makes me so excited is, you know what? There's something for everyone. And if you think about product marketing, I remember back when I was a kid, there was like, I think Ragu had one flavor of spaghetti sauce. Now you can get like 15, right? There's like oregano and garlic, and it's really all about shelf space, right? And so think about this in terms of shelf space. When you have all these projects, and some are memes, and some are ridiculous, and some are about your genitalia, and then some are about, utility, but the shelf space that takes up, there's only so much time we have. And the more and more we can attract people into this, however they get here, whether it's through a real estate conference or whether it's through a meme token, the fact of the matter is this value, when paired with PLS on the Pulse chain, with these principles in this meme, is unbelievable, because the one thing we haven't had for all this time is the money. And I think
Yes.
about that, the resources, the thing that you said the Renaissance, which I absolutely love that idea, is that we're going to have to go through this battle and to be almost prepared as pirates in a way, right? Hey,
Mhm.
we're a team that we're going to overcome this. Well, that's why I respect Richard so much, is that it's almost like he has been appointed for this time. Like he almost kind of knows it, but this idea that him wanting the glory, which is really, he's going to be the last man standing with principles in crypto, in my opinion. And it's like, where do good people go? I almost see like the Pulse chain. Where do good people go? That's going to be the only thing standing
Mm.
that's not compromised. Its principles aren't compromised. And then that's how I see things related to Texas as well. Is it's like, whether or not Texas is independent, the fact of the matter is this story resonates because, why are 23 states supporting Texas and the razor wire stuff and really, the border? Because it's common sense. And I love that about Richard, because he's an authentic person who's saying, yeah, you should have, freedom of speech and movement and transaction and privacy. And it's something that I almost feel like spans the gap, because in the past, it's been about this meme or that meme or, flashy stuff, but this is really substantive stuff. And I feel like this is the real elements of the legacy that Richard's building. And I've said it many times. He will not let his baby languish. He will
Yeah.
not. And so if Richard Hart's in it, he's in it to win it. And folks, I'm telling you, this is, you don't have to push a bunch of buttons. You just have to wait, and it's coming.
Yeah. Eh, there's something else that I want to touch on real quick, and it's extremely important. I didn't know too much about the young men that built Tornado Cash, and I saw Richard tweet about that today, and I did a little research and I was reading, and I was like, wow, these guys are being lambasted for something they tried to create freedom of, privacy. They tried to
Yeah.
create privacy for people, and these young men are in prison right now,
Hmm.
facing one of them 45 years in prison for this. And I can just tell that this guy's intentions weren't to go support a terrorist nation. This person was trying to create something on crypto to give us privacy, so that me as an employer can send my employees money without them all knowing who each other's paychecks are. Things like
Right.
that, like simple. See, privacy is important for us, and
Hmm.
just that like simple aspect. And there's so many other aspects out there. Like I hate sending people money that ask me for money, because I don't want them seeing my bags.
Yep.
I don't want them
Yep.
tracing it back to other bags or people that I've done business with. Privacy is necessary, and we don't have that here in crypto. Look at what Monero just got squashed.
Yeah.
I mean, so we have something going on here that we all need to take heed to, and that is guys like you and me who are public facing, who are speaking these things. We face the gauntlet.
Yeah.
And, are we going to stand up for each other? Are we going to call out this injustice? Are we going to, or are we going to allow them to start jailing people like all of us? We're going to have to get louder, more vocal, more prevalent, in order to create a protection and get enough people to rally around us, so that we won't end up in prisons and try and have them try to hush us
Yeah.
in that manner. So I'm a little, and my wife, she's the one that brought it to my attention. I was like reading it, and she's like, "What are you checking out?" And I told her, and she was like, "I'm worried." And I'm like, "What are you talking about? Why are you worried that this is going to go away?" No, I'm worried about you. Well, when are they going to come after you, put you in
Mhm.
jail? And
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh crap, you're
Yeah.
right." You know, are they going to come after me? I don't know. They've tried already. So, we've got to be cognizant of that, and we've got to be able to support these people. And I'm trying to figure out how that's going to be done, because I want to get involved more, because I think that we're all at risk
Yeah.
as we move into this, because you and I both know how important it is and how big it is, and the stick that it puts in the eye of those power that be that can do all of that stuff, you know?
Well, I think the good news is this is across the board. I mean, think about this. Never in my lifetime has the opposing political party wanted more than anything to put their opponent in jail, right? That's
Mm,
just not something that we did in America. And that's, I mean, literally, it's going to go to the Supreme Court over this issue with Trump. And
yeah.
it's more indicative of where we are, right? We've lost our way. And I think,
Mm,
whether it's the concern about Richard or any of these things, at the end of the day, this will break before the Renaissance, right? And that's what I'm actually excited about is my good friend Steve Stagg, who passed away 2 weeks ago. He basically said,
yeah.
"Let's not add any energy to it, right? Let it fail on its own. Let's not fight that piece of it because it will crumble under its own weight. Because this is not, um, it's not right." And so, I see these kind of pictures of this. I look at Tucker Carlson going over to Putin to have an interview with Putin. And what do we see? Putin is, or no, the people in the EU are wanting to sanction a journalist for interviewing a president. And I look at that
Hmm.
and I go, this is how backwards things are. Regular people know this. This is why 23 states are supporting Texas's border, is it isn't right to have 6 million people, coming into your country. And I think that, it's the pendulum swinging the other way, and we're coming up into an election year. And I think what we're going to see is, and this is, I think, the gift to you, to me, to Richard Hart, and all of this, is that this wave is going to, it almost feels like, and this very, very well. This feels like Carter to Reagan. And I don't mean with Trump, but it feels like that era. Remember the hostages in Iran, and as soon as he walked into office, they were out. And I think about that. This feels like that kind of moment again. And that it's like, we're either going to see this thing be hijacked and it's going to erupt, because if it doesn't write its course in this election, it's going to break. And if it breaks, that's good for us. And if it gets
Yes.
real, and if it's good for us. And so
Yeah.
it's a pivotal time. But I really truly believe that um, we're either going to see it resolve itself and we're going to be more united than ever, or it's going to break.
I
And then we're going to be more
literally,
united than ever.
literally just got a news alert.
Go ahead. Breaking
Breaking.
news.
Looks like the appeals court may have forced the U.S. Supreme Court to ban Trump from running for president under the 14th Amendment. So, like you said, we might end up seeing the breaking of things, which might be necessary for
Yeah.
things to break before they mend. Unfortunately,
Well,
for
I
governments,
often,
you really don't want that. You want things to be diplomatically figured out and levied back and forth, how to fix it and end up somewhere in the middle somewhere,
yeah.
versus let's break it, let's shun one side, shun the other, and have an all out, um, internal revolution. And I don't mean a violent revolution, I mean a political revolution of some type,
Yep.
in the middle of it somewhere.
Well, and then that's, I often ask this question, where do good people go? Right. And it's not, the answer isn't far, far away. And it's like, well, all right, we're going to get back to this has to get back to sensibility at some point because there's just too many good leaders. And the coolest thing about it is you and I represent kind of this. I feel like this emerging leadership group of Gen Xers, right? People that don't
Yes.
like authority. I resonate with Joe Rogan. I mean, Elon Musk, just poke people in the eye. Like, I like doing that. Like, I never trusted
Mhm.
anyone in authority. But there's a whole generation of people who are like, and I joked last time, I'm like, my parents were hippies who then
Mhm.
turned into yuppies who snorted cocaine, slicked their hair back, and hostily took over businesses. Right? I'm like, the most decadent, ridiculous people, and we have to fix this damn thing.
When I was a little kid, I went to No Nukes concerts. I went to all the Grateful Dead stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
that's where my parents were hippies. They
Yeah, me
were
too.
pot smoking hippies, and
Yep.
and that's what I grew up around. Like, oh, geez, these people. And that's
Yeah, they
where
ruined it.
we came out as punk rock,
Yeah.
insane,
Anti-establishment.
anti-establishment, screw you guys, we're going out here, and
Yeah,
let you
yeah,
guys do your thing with your boomers and your, and all that stuff. And yeah, man. And we've been like locked away all these years, and now we've all come of age.
yep,
We've been through the gauntlet. We're the ones with the wisdom, the knowledge, and the intelligence to go and make things happen. And that's why you're seeing guys like Rogan and Elon and all these people that are like, come on, enough of the nonsense, you guys. We're
yep,
done with this. We know what you guys have been up to. We grew up with you. We watched the shit you
yeah,
guys are doing
yep,
and when you were young people. We're gonna go do this the right way now. Now step
yep,
aside and hold our beer. All right, and that's kind of where I think our generation's at,
yeah,
because we were like, we all the millennials got all the new stuff and the
yep,
technology and all that, and we were just kind of sitting there stuck in the middle,
yep,
dealing with both sides, dealing with our kids and young ones that were just clueless because they had a
yep,
barrier between us and them, and then we had to deal with them with all of their nonsense. So we're this generation that has been through it all.
yeah,
We've
yeah,
seen everything from no cell phones to cell phones, from
yep,
television where you flipped on a black and white one to televisions that are now on your phone and you can see from anywhere in the world, even up in a freaking airplane.
yeah,
I mean, we're the ones that grew up in the middle of all this. And
yeah,
I think that it's time that people like us are out there in leadership roles, taking on and making a better place for the young people today and putting the old folks back to sleep. It's like, okay, guys,
wow,
your era is over. It's time
yeah,
for us to put you to bed and put you in the home. I'm sorry, but some of these folks got to go in a home. We're done with them. They have to be taken care of because they're walking into walls and they don't know what the hell they're doing. They can't
yeah,
run our countries no more. We
literally,
can't have them doing that. It's time for us to put another, 45, 50-year-old president in place so that they can run the country right with no nonsense. Tell all the other countries, we're done. We got things
yep,
we got to fix here because it's been screwed up for so long. And maybe we'll be back to fix you guys up later. Might want to go take care of your shit too. That's
yeah.
kind of where I think we're at,
I totally agree. And you know what's great about that is, I look at somebody like Joe Rogan, and I feel like you're the same way. I see this in Richard Hart too. It's like, all right, I'm open to listening. I'm open to, well, the cool thing about a guy like Rogan, because Rogan to me is kind of the quintessential guy representing this era, because he's the guy who is gonna, you know, smoke some weed. He's gonna give you he's gonna use rough language, but then also he's gonna talk to people. And if you have a good point, he's gonna change his mind. He's not, it's almost like it's not ideological, it's sensible. And I feel like that's the thing that's missing. And I feel like I see this from Elon Musk. I see this from Russell Brand. I see this from Joe Rogan. I see this from Tucker Carlson. Is like, well, why can't we ask that question? And that's this thing that we're like, yeah, there's a whole generation of us that are like, why don't we do the thing that works, not the thing that we've always done? And it's like, seems so practical. And
Is it sounds so right, right? Let's
yeah,
let's
yeah,
do the thing that's right, that works. Can we
yeah,
do that? Or can we at least try some other
yeah,
things?
yeah,
We don't have to stay status quo to keep legacy alive, to keep money in the pockets of those that we want to keep
yeah,
money in the pockets of. Can we make things better for everybody? That's where we're at now. We have
yeah,
technologies and a world where we can make the world better for everybody.
yeah.
Let's do that. How about we do
And I
that instead?
I totally agree, and I think it's a product. You mentioned, going from black and white TV to, TV on your phone. We've straddled this analog to digital thing, but it's also we've seen the exposure. I mean, look at WikiLeaks, look at all of these things that have happened. All of these things that used to be done in the darkness are now in the light. And it's like we
Like
now are
everybody can see.
understanding the truth. And we're
Yeah.
like, hey, this isn't very pretty. Why don't we solve this problem? It's really cool because you talked about generations and cycles. I mean, it is a crisis era that will lead to a renaissance, and I feel like our kids and grandkids are going to have an incredible experience because we got all kinds of amazing things coming. But we've got to reconsider these approaches. I mean, it's almost like Trump and Biden are keeping the Cold War on life support. It's like we're done with James Bond. We're done with him. Like we're
You're
done.
100, bro. They're keeping all of that on. That is on life support. Like the old
Yes.
way of running our country, running the world is on
Yep.
life support, and it's time to pull the plug. It
Yep.
just is. It's time to pull the plug. It's time to put them to bed and let the more thoughtful thinking mind get out there and do the thing. It's time.
Well, and
And
isn't it amazing though? You have so many friends. I mean, think about our relationships now. We pretty much know a Mexican from every country in the world,
oh
and
yeah,
they're the same as the guy down the street. And what I love about this community and what crypto has done and what Hex has done specifically is reminded us that we're all the same. And we may talk a little bit differently, but we want the same things in life. And it makes things like the Cold War seem silly because I see the humanity. We never got to see the humanity of people far away. And it's like we've got friends in Asia, we got friends in Australia, we got friends in Europe, and it's like they're hodl dogs, kind of like RG3, right? And it's like, oh my gosh, like we want the same things. Let's reconsider this thing. And it's like, let's stop killing each other. That'd be a good start.
that would be first in my list. Is can we stop killing each other? That's the
That'd be
one
nice.
thing that I'm like I've had enough of that. I was there. I was part of the killing machine. They created me to be a killing machine, and
Yeah.
and and I don't want that. I don't want to see it anymore. I don't want to see it on TV and on the internet, and I don't want people. That's the most disheartening thing to. It's like, have we not fought enough in this world to just say, let's stop that. If we
Yeah.
could stop that first, I'd be so happy. And then let's go fix everything else.
Yeah.
There is no reason for 2,500-year-old wars to continue to go on. It's like, all right, we were all wrong.
Yeah.
Let's stop killing each other, and now let's sort all this shit out and do the right. You know what? I think Joe Rogan should run for president, man.
Yeah.
I think he should. I think he'd win.
Yeah.
I
Well, a
think
guy
he'd be
like
the
him.
first
Yeah.
independent that would win if he went up and ran for president, because he would get up there on a debate stage and he wouldn't take any side. He wouldn't
No.
take any corporate side on anything. He'd be like, no, let's go do the sensible thing. And
Yeah.
I think that there are a lot of us that are like him in our generation, like you said, that are ready to just start talking sensible like that.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll get a stage soon, man. Hopefully,
We
like
will.
what you
We
guys are
will.
doing with Texan. That's the one thing that I think is like you guys can be like one of those things that breaks through and changes government's view on the citizenry. I mean,
Yeah.
and I'm rooting for that, to be honest.
Well,
I
a
don't want
little
to see Texas leave the United States.
no, and you know what
That
though?
bothers me, but
Yeah, but that's the neat thing about this is it's not contingent upon that. But it is a story that it's resonating and it's timely. But just as a little alpha for folks watching, our next country is England. We're going to tokenize England. That's next. And it's what's incredible
nice.
about this is think about that. Think about people in a group of people in our geographic region actually being able to embrace DeFi at a country level. And I look at that and I go, there's hope. And RG, I've done 599 videos, and this is one of my
Yeah.
favorite of all time. I really appreciate it. This
Oh
was really
man,
fun, man.
I had a great time. Always have a good time when I'm chatting with you, bro.
Yeah, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
Folks, obviously, if you're not following RG, you're living under a rock. Number two, pulsechaintour.com. Its link is in the description. Houston events coming up. Obviously, there's the event that's coming up in Vegas as well. I mean, folks, if you haven't had an opportunity to get together with Hexicans and Polskins, I mean, you're missing out. So if it comes into your town, you got to get together. Any final parting words,
Yeah, just
Archie?
if you want to go to Vegas, I know people are excited about Vegas. Get your tickets right now. Go to pulsechaintour.com. There's only a few events left to gobble up. We don't have room rates anymore. The room rate thing is over, so you have to get your own room. But yeah, get on the pulsechaintour.com. And hey, if you're in Texas, or if you're not in Texas, want to come visit us, come hang out with us in Houston. Real estate meets crypto. Going to be a bunch of fun. And yeah, man, I'm telling you, we got to have some more conversations. We do.
Yeah, this is so cool. Well, I mean, it falls to us, and man, I just want to give a big shout out to Richard Hart for his leadership. And folks, we're standing together. And let's finish with this. I want to finish with this, and that is the importance of unity in our community.
Mm.
Unity, it's funny is when we go to these meetups, I'm reminded of how much we got in common. I mean, from the crypto Sparbuck guys to like literally people from across the world, I feel like I've got commonality with them. And when I see what's going on in the community, I don't get involved in it at all. I don't pick fights. I don't get into fights. But
Yeah.
I think about this. I'm like, we're on the same team, folks. And I think unity is so important in this time, particularly that we have something so exciting that can be so transformational for people. And it's like, if we can just work together and in a way, it's almost like bear with us in a way. It's like extend some grace. That's what I would say to people is like, you know, think before you speak or act or type and realize we're on the same team. Stop pointing a gun in the foxhole, dude.
Put away your harpoons, guys. It's all over with. The war's over. Hey, I'll tell you what, Heartbeat. If I could have like 5 down bros like you, we can go take on the world, man.
Yeah,
I'm telling you,
well,
that's all I need. I don't need an army. I just need
I just
5
as long as I
solid
can bring
motherfuckers. That's all I need.
Brandon because he's the
Number 3 right there already. Bing,
he's the
bing,
guy.
bing.
He's the guy.
Yes,
Archie,
sir.
thanks so much, man,
All
for
right,
joining.
bro.
I appreciate you so much. All right,
We'll see you.
see ya. Folks, once again, an amazing stream. And thank you so much. We had over 100 people here. It hasn't been like that for quite some time. So 2 streams today, over 100 people. It's an indication. You should be looking at it like I do. I've been watching these numbers. It's not what I say or anything like that. It's ultimately a reflection of what's happened in the market. This is going to get really bad on one side and really good on the other. And it's a responsibility that we have to take that abundance and do something with it. And folks, I hope that this is a massive blessing to you, but I also want you to recognize the position that you find yourself in. You have chosen wisely, and now's the time. I mean, if I were to give you any advice, I would say, let's credit this account, not debit it, right? Let's not take, let's give. Folks, take care of yourself and do not mess with Texas. Take care, everybody.